Hi everyone, I'm Holly, and today I'm working on sunflower wax melts, and I thought maybe you would like to see how I make them. So the first thing I do is prep the mold. I'm just going to use a little bit of iridescent, well, it's not really iridescent, but glitter with a gold accent to it. It looks mostly white, but it has a gold effect. So I'm just going to fill those in. And I've got some molds here on each side of me, which you can see. Okay, so now comes the tedious part, and that is working the brown center into the mold. And it's kind of a pain, and it takes a while. So I'm gonna go get my wax, and I'll be right back. All right, so here's my wax, and I don't need a whole lot for this process. I'm using some brown nature-friendly candle dye from Nature's Garden today, and I've never used this one, so I'm gonna see how much I need. I usually have little scraps of freezer paper around that I test it on. That's looking really nice. I think that is the brown that we're looking for. Has a little bit of a red tone to it, but I like it. I think that'll work. I'm not scenting this part. So this part is so tedious. I wish that these molds were made in such a way that it's just easy to pour in for the brown, but as it is, the brown is lifted up. So I usually just take a little pipette and I don't know how well you guys are gonna be able to see this, but I basically just put a little dollop in and just kind of brush it around, and this is so much of a pain. I actually wasn't gonna make these this year because of this part, and then I decided, oh well, they're so cute, I'll just take the time. Now I usually try to work at a place where I get my face a little bit closer to it so I can see better what I'm doing. Now I always spill a little bit over the edge, and so I always come back later with another little tool to kind of clean it up before I pour the main part. So even though, you know, it does seem like it takes a long time, it's actually not too bad. Last year I did 100 and some of these, and I said, well, I wasn't gonna do that again. So I'm not gonna make quite that much this year. But I'll get close. I'll still make a lot. Oops, see right there, it just spilled over. There's a certain temperature that it usually works the best, where I can just smooth it around. I just haven't taken the time to see what that actual temperature is, because it changes because it cools so quick. So I'll pop this in the microwave to heat it back up if I need to. So I didn't do the best in the world, but I will come back and clean that up once it is dry. So in the meantime, I'm just going to continue working on these, and then I'll come back for the next part of it. Alright, I'm on cleanup portion now. I need to clean that up right there. So what I have is this tool. I think it came from Brambleberry. I assume it's for working with like clay and such. And it's actually rather simple. It seems more tedious than it really is. But I just break it. It usually just picks right up. sticks to it. So I just kind of look everything over. They're usually not very big pieces, but it does make a difference for the final product. And I have 6 more molds on another table. I think last year I must have done double, which would have made like 140 some. I think I'm just gonna make the 70 this year because it's just a little bit more tedious than I enjoy. So this one has a pretty big one in there. So I'm just going to kind of, it usually just breaks like, wow, I didn't realize I was so far away, guys, I'm sorry. Usually just kind of breaks apart where the petal is. And then I just make sure that everything's cleaned up. The glitter, it gets everywhere. Alright, so these look to be ready. Need to check the rest of this. It looks pretty good. Alright, so now I am going to get my main wax portion. Alright, so I have my wax here. I am using a custom paraffin soy blend. I will leave links to some waxes that you can try in the description box of the video. The fragrance I'm using, I'm hoping it'll focus. I'm using this Amish quilt from Rustic Essentials. It's just a warm, spicy, kind of like kitcheny, cinnamon, clove, vanilla fragrance. It's so good. So every single wax will have a usage rate for fragrance, and every single wax will have temperature instructions. So I don't usually get into temperatures a whole lot because it really isn't going to matter. This is my wax. This is the temperatures I need. The waxes that you buy will have designated temperatures for you to work with. So I am in a stage where I need to add color. I'm going to add mostly yellow with a little orange. We'll see how it goes. And I try to, this is 60 ounces of wax, so I try to have an equal number so that I can easily split it if I want to. So I'm going to start with 10. And I'm going to see what that looks like. That's not dark at all. I like sunflower. So you see it's very lemony. We don't want lemon. I'm going to do another 10. Whoop. A little bit more came out there. And I'm going to do 6. Let's do, oh, I was going to do 3, but 4 fell in. So we have, no, I don't even remember. I've got to write this stuff down. So we're still very yellow. Very, very yellow. Let's see. 5, 6. This one is just the messiest container ever. We're definitely getting a more orange hue to it, but we still need some depth. So I'm going to put in 10 more yellow. I looked at the camera, so I might have lost count. And I'm going to put in 3 more orange. So I think we're up to 30 yellow and 9 orange. I'll have to put it down there for you in case I screwed up. So that's looking very pretty, but I do want more orange to it. Oh geez, it's splattered clear over there. That's inconvenient. Alright, let's see what this one's looking like. Ooh, I am liking this a lot. That is a great ratio of yellow to orange. So I believe it was 30 yellow and 12 orange. I'm pretty sure. I'm trying to decide though if I want that to go a little bit darker. And this is why we wear gloves, because it's just very messy. You don't want that dye all over your fingers. Alright, I think I'm going to go with this. I ended up putting in 6 more drops of yellow and 3 more drops of orange. So if my numbers, if I'm remembering my numbers right, I put in 36 yellow and 15 orange. And this is just a complete disaster. So I have my fragrance measured already. I'm going to go ahead and get it put in, and then I'm going to stir for a couple of minutes. Alright, so usually what I use to pour is this batter dispenser, you know, like for pancakes or whatever. You can get it at a restaurant supply store. Comes with, you know, different size nozzles, etc. I usually just set it in another doodad there. And then I am just going to pour this in. I'll probably move all this away just so that I can get my molds in a good place. So sometimes it gets wax stuck in it, so I always have to use my heat gun, but I'll give it a test run here. Yep, see, not coming out. So what I'm going to do is take it over and just hit it with my heat gun. Okay, so I have my wax here, and I'm just going to start filling it up. It gives me a lot more precision over just pouring, you know. And that can get really drippy and annoying. So I've found that I just prefer to use this dispenser. Sometimes it can take a little bit longer for these bigger molds, but man, for the little things, just so handy. It's amazing. And of course it's stainless steel, and it's just super easy to clean up. Really nice. I highly recommend them if you're into making wax. Just a restaurant supply store. Oh, it's so cinnamony. Cinnamony. It's like when you're a kid, you can't say cinnamon. Cinnamony. Love it. Such a good fragrance. I love sunflowers too. We went out looking at sunflowers this weekend. It was so much fun. Also planted some sunflowers. It was kind of a last minute decision. I just planted it along my garden fence, and they are blooming right now too. Just fantastic. They bring me so much joy. I am going to just plant loads next year. I'm just going to find places, and I'm just going to have little sunflower plots everywhere. At least I hope so. I have this dream myself to be a hay farmer when I finally get back to Montana, and so I've decided that I will have a plot of sunflowers as well. There's this one place where we drive by. The sunflower field is like right next to their house. What joy, right? Oh my goodness, what joy. I just think it would be so fun to have sunflowers outside your kitchen window or what have you. So this is the last of the wax. I know you can't, I guess you can kind of see off to the corner. So what I'll do is I will take a count of how many I was able to fill with the 60 ounces, and then I will split it up and figure out what I need still. Unfortunately, I think I only bought a pound of the fragrance this time because it was back ordered, so we'll see how many I get done. Well, now I'm gonna have to really hope that this one I get the colors right, because otherwise it's going to be a little bit on the modelly side. So I'm back with more wax ready. I am going to have to wait for it to be melted down before I can finish the other molds on this other counter. I have a Presto pot that my husband has outfitted with a spigot. Oh my goodness, he did that so many years ago. And it's so handy. It's just like a little valve spigot. I love it. If you've seen my studio tours, you will have seen it in that. And I just love it. It's so handy, but it's not really big enough anymore. So I'm going to just continue to finish these, and the heat gun will melt this down and make cleanup a breeze. Alright, so I'm just going to let these completely cool overnight. I'm not going to move them or anything, and I will come back to unmold them with you. So the sunflowers are ready to be unmolded, and we shall see how they turned out. Looks good. Isn't that pretty? I just love how it looks with that brown. It's really worth the effort. It's every year I'm like this. I don't know whether I'm going to do it or not. So I will probably get them set up in my little tray here for pictures. Seems like no matter how many pictures I take new every year, because my colors are just slightly different every year. Just looks so good. I love it. So I found out that I don't like to fill these molds all the way up, because then they're super hefty, and I don't love that myself. I like them to be a little bit smaller. Now, to use these wax melts, and I will most likely put a little clip on the end of this video. What you do is you put the wax melt into a wax warmer / wax melter. It melts the wax down and it releases the fragrance. It's kind of like a wickless candle type of thing. Some people call them candle tarts. I'm pretty sure that that's trademarked, but I haven't looked that up in a long time, so I can't be certain of that story. Now, one of these was the one where I poured some and then had to start a new batch, so hopefully I got my colors right. Not sure which one. I think maybe it might be this one here. These turned out great. They're so pretty. I've about convinced my husband to take me back out to the sunflower field so that I could get some nice video with my better camera, but we'll see. He has a pretty hefty work schedule today, and so do I. So, and then a big old grocery store pickup later. That's what I think I'd like to go, is kind of the golden hour. I think it would look really pretty, but we'll see. I suspect I won't get that done, but I will try to do. Well, if there was one that was a mix of colors, I don't see it. Anyway, it'd just be really fun to get that video, but if not, I might just get some video of my sunflowers, because they're gorgeous too. And they're different. They're more authentic. Like the sunflower fields, they tend to have like a more of a yellow center. I tend to prefer the darker centered sunflowers myself. Yes, these turned out just super duper. Probably could have let them be a little less orangey. Sometimes it's just hard to tell with the overall picture, but they still look really nice this way. Next year I want to plant some of the red orange type sunflowers. Somebody was telling me about that on Instagram. I thought, ooh, that would be fun. I just need to have a sunflower collection. I love them so much. Oh, these are gorgeous. Okay, so I have another, I guess we're starting to fall over now. I have another 6 molds, so that will help. They don't look like much adding up here, do they? Let's see. Anywho's-its, that's about all there is to it. I have to run downstairs and get my wax melter. I don't seem to have one up here today. And then I will do a little setup to do a wax melt. Now, I was also going to mention, some people aren't going to want to melt this whole thing at once. It's going to be too strong. Unless you have a super huge room, what you're probably going to want to do is cut it. Now, just do this very carefully. What I would recommend is just pop this in the microwave, like on a paper plate or a couple layers of paper towels for like 10 seconds, and then just use your butter knife to just easily cut through it. It's usually no big deal. So here we have a beautiful tray of sunflower wax melts. Isn't it gorgeous? I love it. So I guess I'll show you a little bit of the packaging. Alright, so before I start packaging, one thing that's very important is cure time. Wax still needs to cure. And soy tends to be a little bit longer than a parasoy blend or paraffin itself. I usually make these in far enough advance that they already get a month cure or something like that. Typically I look for at least a 2-week cure before I sell the wax melts. Now for packaging, most of the suppliers, Paper Mart, Nashville Wraps, I think Nashville Wraps has some, Uline, they have these polypropylene bags. Now, polypropylene is important. Polypropylene is not going to suck the scent out of the wax melts. Polyethylene will. So it's important to look for polypropylene. And another option would be like a glassine bag or a bakery bag. I use, this is hard to do with gloves on. I do use the polypropylene so that you can see them through. These are 4x4. Now the molds themselves, I forgot to mention that. The molds are from Be Scented, and I bought them just ages ago. I don't know if they're still there. I will try to find a link for these molds. These sunflower molds are pretty common, at least they used to be. So, yeah. So I just designed my labels in Adobe. I still use Photoshop, but I need to learn Illustrator. But I didn't used to have the Illustrator until they switched over to their whole Adobe Cloud thing. So that's $53 a month, and I do pay for that just to use the Adobe products because I use Photoshop all the time, and I use Premiere Pro all the time. So it is a good option. That way I don't have to buy all of the different products, and those are pretty expensive. So it is a good value to me. And these ones do have a hang hole, so you know, if you had a store, they would be easily hung up and super cute. My husband is considered building some sort of a pegboard that we can hang a lot of these and keep them off of our shelf. We don't have a lot of room in September and October and November when we're working on fall and holiday and all that, we really run out of room. So something like that would be very convenient. Now I'm wearing gloves. I just think that's the right thing to do in general, but also I don't like the way the wax feels on my fingers, so I do like the gloves, but I probably wouldn't have done them to label. I would have just bagged them all and then labeled. Alright, so that's all we're going to do for right now, because I want to get some pictures of these, and then I will try to come back and do that wax melting little video. Alright, I have my wax warmer ready. It is a bowl warmer this time. Sometimes I prefer the hot plate, but this is what I have. So I'm going to take my wax melt. I'm just going to pop the whole thing in for this time. It probably won't completely melt because these bulb warmers aren't super hot. An actual plate warmer might work better for a bigger one like this. So I just let it melt down and enjoy the fragrance. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. So here's my little row of sunflowers. I just love them so much. What you doing, Maverick? What are you doing, you goofy goofball? Oh, they're just so pretty. I love how they look. They make me happy.